Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Shift by Synergy One Lending, home of the modern mortgage experience. The purpose of The Shift is to bring innovation and thought leadership to loan officers and realtors through online events like this one today and through social media. So we've obviously got a couple really awesome guests today. We've got Shay Rowbottom, who's a complete powerhouse on LinkedIn. She's a video coach and the CEO of Shay Rowbottom Marketing. She's got, I believe, at least 500, if not 600,000 followers on the platform. So obviously she's got a huge following. We also have Chris Medellin, who's one of Loan Depot's top area managers, who's leveraged big video in a big way to grow his business. So awesome to have him on board and just hearing kind of his industry specific experience there. We've also got a couple of folks from Synergy One here, myself included. We've got Tim Wagner, who's the Chief Marketing Officer of Synergy One. We've got Chase Majerus. He's the Digital Media Specialist, Synergy One, and host of This Week Today. And I'm Andrew Haberman. I'm the Digital Marketing Manager at Synergy One, and happy and excited to be hosting all of you today. So we want to keep this super interactive. We know that people are going to have questions along the way. So there's a questions box if you have any questions for any of our guests. If you just kind of want to ask it for the group, you can keep it there. If you have a question for a specific person, if you can just let us know in the chat when you ask your question, and we'll go ahead and get this thing started. So I've got a stat for all of us. 81%, I looked it up the other day, 81% of businesses are currently using video as a marketing tool. So obviously what we're talking about today is super relevant, super important, and especially in real estate and mortgage, there's a huge opportunity to get in kind of, I would say on the ground floor, but there's already a lot of people that are using video. So I'll go ahead and pitch it over to Tim, and we'll go ahead and get the show on the road.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Andrew. Appreciate that. As Andrew mentioned, I'm the Chief Marketing Dishwasher here at Synergy One Lending. So home of the modern mortgage experience, if you haven't seen the shirt. And so, yeah, as Andrew threw out a stat, I'll throw out another one. So 80% plus, depending on kind of, your source for that, but over 80% of consumers are preferring to digest and ingest content via video. And it just keeps snowballing, month over month and year over year. It's like everyone just consumes video, streaming is huge, everything like that. So that's where all the eyeballs are and where we need to be. So to get our message out there to these guys. So we wanted to bring in the best of the best. So Chris and Shay, doesn't get much better than these guys, and our own celebrity, in-house celebrity, Chase, who's amazing and the host of This Week Today. So Shay, let me kick it over to you. You're obviously terrible at video with only, I think, 11 billion followers or something like that. So walk us through, if you don't mind, walk us through your story. Your story is incredible. I followed you for years, and it's amazing to see like where you started from a content perspective and how that content, especially video, obviously got you to where you are today. Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tim, for the kind intro. I don't have 11 billion yet. That would be cool if I had all the followers on planet Earth and then some outside of our planet. That would be awesome. But, I started out in video marketing originally as an entrepreneur when I was 23. I worked on Facebook creating viral videos for large blogs. So I really was a student to viral video for years before I ever created my own content. But the thing was, and we see this so often in the professional communities, is like I had all this success and I had this successful business, but I was really unfulfilled. I just like every day was like, something's off here. Like I don't feel right. And I was completely lacking in confidence to even leave. I was like, I can't do my own thing. I'm dependent here, but I'm unfulfilled. And I was running out of leads for that business. And it was like those three things were on the table, but I actually just went and I wrote a prayer in my diary that night. And I was like, just sick and tired of being unfulfilled. And I asked God to send me a sign that my life would have purpose and wouldn't be in vain. Please send me something that will help me feel alive again. That's why I said alive again. And a week later, I met a guy who told me about LinkedIn. And I was like, LinkedIn, what do you mean? He's like, well, you already know everything about video. You should get on LinkedIn and make videos because there's less competition there. And there's a ton of people with money that could buy your business. And I was thinking, oh man, I'm going to give this a go. So I started out posting 3 original selfie videos per week. on my LinkedIn, and I was just myself. I talked about video marketing. I talked about my own experience. I even talked about my hardships, my lack of fulfillment, and instantly found more fulfillment through LinkedIn, gained the confidence to leave. And within 2 months of posting 3 videos consistently on my LinkedIn, I had generated over 6 figures in revenue for my Facebook marketing agency at the time. So there's your leads. So I got the confidence to leave. I left. I felt more fulfilled. And now I teach other professionals how they can have the same success on LinkedIn, attracting inbound business through video content.
Absolutely love it. And so there's a big point around, fulfillment, being fulfilled and that kind of thing. How was it fulfilling for you?
So the thing that is amazing about video, which I will admit, I didn't know starting out when I got in the video industry, but when you actually teach people to make selfie videos on their own camera of themselves, like, no cheating. This isn't like you're 12 back in the school play and you got a mask on. Like, this is like, you're in front of the camera. Like, this is the real deal. It's go time. It allows people to actually start to find their voice, and it increases confidence. So it's actually not just about getting business. I found that just getting on camera and speaking my truth, I suddenly was more fulfilled because I was like, okay, I have an outlet for this, and all my worst fears of, I'm going to embarrass myself and everyone's going to shame me. Well, that never happened. I actually ended up making a lot of friends, great connections, and getting business. So I would say just the act of getting on camera and making videos itself is an act of personal development and self-improvement. And that's what we're going to talk about today too. And John's here now. So.
Absolutely love it. So Jonathan, we're going to get to you next. You are a unreal, special, insane guest that I did not even know was going to show up. You're messing my intro and transition over to Chris, because I was going to say he's got the best hair that I've ever seen. And I wish I had Hollywood hair like that, but I don't, and I never will.
Driving right now, yeah.
All right, keep eyes on the road, buddy. But I'm coming right back to you, Jonathan. So I appreciate you coming in, and Shay, thanks for bringing Jonathan in. That's crazy.
I had, as soon as I saw Chris's hair, I had to call Jonathan.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the reason I had to bring Chris in is he's the best dressed in the biz and the best hair in the biz. So outside of being obviously like a just top insane, crushing it killer in the industry, around mortgage, he's amazing. So Chris, can you walk us through a little bit of your story and kind of background and how video was intertwined and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it must have been about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I was coming out of a recruit meeting with some loan officers that I wanted to recruit, and they had made a comment about not realizing some of the things that our company did that in my head was very obvious. So I finally had like a message, and I had kind of seen people doing this car selfie type video, and it was not even in the realm of something that I was interested in doing, but I had something to say, and it was bothering me. So I jumped in my car, did a video, and instantly like it just took off. And so I was like, there's something here. And so then it changed because, my job is I got to cold call loan officers who are crushing it at the company that they're at. And most likely that company is taking good care of them. They're happy. And I got to convince them that together we're going to be more powerful. Right. So that's a tough proposition to do throughout the day. So I had to figure out another way to break through with them. So I started using video. I started video texting, like, hey, I see what you're doing. You're doing amazing. I can't wait to meet. You're in my market. Let's get coffee, right? And my conversion skyrocketed from there. And then that stopped working. So I was like, people, like everybody jumped on the let's send a video text bandwagon. And so as I went into 2020, my thought process was I just have to be omnipresent. I got to be everywhere. When somebody opens up their phone in one of my markets, somehow or another, I got to pull up so that when I finally muster up the courage to call them, they may have seen me somewhere and they feel like there's some sort of connection with me. And then the thought process with regard to content was, I just want to do something that their current boss isn't doing or willing to do. And so that way the value proposition is to really work with me in the mechanics and really help people build their brand in the local markets that they're in, because let's face it, customers start digitally. And so I really wanted to be a practitioner in that. And I really wanted to be like the person in my industry doing it the most. And I don't know that I'm there yet, but it's certainly been a journey to get to where I am, because I am now actually getting people reaching out to me and asking for help. I'm also, able to call people and them say, I actually saw your stuff. It's pretty cool, blah, blah, blah. And now it's a different conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And you're really, you've almost become kind of transitioned into this big coaching powerhouse as well. I mean, all of you guys have, right? I mean, so when you look at kind of the evolution of even your careers, right? So, and Chris, like specifically with yours, I love your content, and your content is all over the place, just as you mentioned, which was your goal. So fantastic. But I mean, it really has transitioned you into, you're still doing what you're supposed to be doing and what you're doing in the business and the industry. But then at the same time, you've opened that up to like coaching like crazy, coaching realtors, coaching LOs, and the leadership just in general, right?
That's been a fun journey. And I don't talk about it a lot because as we went into 2020, obviously our business exploded as rates started to drop. But yes, I definitely, one of the things that I started to do was coaching loan officers in different markets that didn't work for Loan Depot, that wanted help with this piece of their business, mainly because if I ever decided to go that direction, I had testimonials of people that it worked for, and I'm just doing it for free. Like, I'll meet with them once a month. We have a very strategic plan on how to get them out there, and I'm watching their business grow through this process. And it's been really, really fulfilling from that end. But it's been a crazy journey going through 2020 in this market.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
Chris, I'll jump in with a quick question for you. Obviously, we're super excited to have you, not only because you've got a lot of video experience, but you've also, got a lot of industry experience, right? So one of the questions that we had was, why is video so important specifically to loan officers and real estate agents? If you can tell us just a little bit, of industry specific importance there.
Well, traditionally in our industry, when a loan officer gets on, and I am actually curious about Shay's perspective on this as well, but like most real LOs and realtors right now are, the market's hot, call me if you want to list, or I got the lowest rates in the industry, right? So we know that, but I don't know you. And I want to know what you're about before I call you. I want to know that, like, you're cool. Like, I never met Jonathan, but he's funny. Like, I know that because of his content. And I think that, like, I'd have a beer with this guy. Like, he's cool. I want to know Shay, like, I just want to pick your brain, like at dinner one day, like, just because you have an amazing story and I'm sure you're tired of telling it, but it's like, I already know things and big nuggets about these individuals that I don't know about anybody else. And it's a part of the decision making when I finally decide I'm looking to get coached. Who do I call? I'm looking to do a mortgage. Who do I call? Well, that guy, he's talking about the struggles of mortgage. I want to help him, so I'm going to call him, right? Because he's not just talking about the flex of, I got the really cool watch in the car and I'm successful. He's saying, like, I just lost a deal and, here's what happened. And this is how I felt about it. Like, I think we need a lot more of that than the flex, so that's where I think video is important, because it gives you a chance to just meet the individuals and get a chance to get to know them.
Oh my gosh. I want to take credit for everything he said. You learned that from me, right, Chris?
Yeah, 100%. Yes, I did.
Well, he's spot on. He's really speaking my language. Video on social media is the best way to connect. I'm not saying that you can't have valuable posts that are article posts or text posts, but you're not really going to connect as a human being until you show up on video. And it is all who you know. We all need to do 3 things in our sales process before a prospect is going to choose us or buy from us. And that is, we need to get them to know, to like, and to trust us. And releasing video content consistently is actually a really great way to break down those 3 pillars before you even get them on the phone. I mean, I have over 600,000 followers on LinkedIn now. I can basically cold call anyone on LinkedIn and say, hey, it's Shay, you want to hear about my video program? And they already know, like, and trust me with video content. So like, oh my gosh, Shay's on the phone. Yeah, I want to talk to her. So absolutely spot on, Chris. I love your answer. And all of that in tandem with just positioning yourself as the authority, show up, provide free tips. What do you know that your target market doesn't know that would make their lives easier?
100%.
And just start to frame your content around that.
100%. Hey, and while we still have Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones, I absolutely have to have his take and his story. So, Jonathan, kick it off, man. We want to hear your story as well, because you've got an amazing success story leveraging video to build your brand.
Well, first, I love the industry that you guys are in, and I'm so happy to be here because, like, legitimately, on my own time, this is something that I really love to do. I love real estate, love the conversation, so it's super relevant for me. But in addition to that, I was a year and 2 months ago, I was a forensic accountant. You couldn't pick a more mundane, boring industry for a rock star looking dude to be in. So I felt suffocated in the industry. So the excuse that I used was that, my father wanted to rebrand his forensic accounting firm, and we needed some marketing services. So I saw that Shay was the absolute best on LinkedIn, reached out to her, and then within a couple of months, she told me, hey, time to leave the family business and come work for me. So that's what happened ever since. So I've scaled from, when I met Shay, I was around 60 followers, 60 connections. And now I have over 100,000. So, it was a very, very quick rise, but it also speaks to organic reach on LinkedIn, how quickly you can get discovered, how quickly your content can get discovered. And so there's so much opportunity on the platform, especially for the individuals in your industry. I see so much potential there.
And no doubt at all. So, and Chase, for the guys at Synergy One, I know we're obviously, we're all about the modern mortgage experience, right? So we're always about, driving innovation. We want to be ahead of the curve versus kind of a lagger and trying to follow the curve or even best practice, because we kind of want to be ahead of that and involved in creating the best practices as to the extent that we can. And that goes into tech and all kinds of different things, but especially goes into social media, goes into video, all that. So Chase, I mean, I know you kind of on the coaching front, and maybe you want to kind of bring us into a little bit of your world in terms of, you work with all of our LOs on a daily basis and kind of telling their stories and how do we tell their stories and kind of coaching them up and give us a little bit of a, what do we do for those guys from a video perspective, especially with your in-house, expertise, which is phenomenal for us. To get them to where they can start doing some of the things that we've been talking about, leveraging their story, telling their story, creating that trust, and getting people to know them a little bit better.
Yeah, totally. So something that I always tell loan officers, at least from my perspective, right? Because most of loan officers, just in general, this is generally speaking, they don't really have like a huge audience just because of their social media presence. So they're usually coming to me like, hey, I know that this is something that I should have been started on, a year and a half ago. Obviously the pandemic did not help, but they're ready to start ramping that up. So they come to me and they ask me, what do I start? What do I got to do first? And I always say the first thing you got to do is just start going down like what your frequently asked questions are. It's really easy. Just start thinking about those things you always get asked. Just start making videos about that. And then this is the hardest part. Look back on your own videos and be like, okay, this is, maybe I should fine tune it a little bit. There were a lot of ums, ands, and and it gets, in my opinion, at least, because I'm 150 episodes of This Week Today into the series. And it obviously did not happen overnight to the point where I was like, this is the way it's going to be forever. And it looks great, because it didn't look great for like 30 episodes. And it was really embarrassing for me to watch myself week after week and be like, God, I really thought I nailed that take, but I didn't. So I just tell loan officers, like I said, you start with the frequently asked questions, you actually film those and have some consistency with it. And then don't be afraid to be like embarrassed of yourself when going back and watching them and being like, oh my God, I can't believe I sounded like that. Because there will be eventually a point when you are happy with like the take, or just happy with the video in general, but you're embarrassed by just watching yourself on video. And that's totally different. Like, it's still embarrassing for me to watch myself on video, but like, I know that what I've done has gotten me to a point where I'm not only comfortable in front of the camera, but I sound like a normal person when speaking in front of the camera. And I'm like, I am who I am, like I'd rather be like unabashedly myself and speak with at least some intelligence than be just babbling on forever or making a bad take or like things that I can totally fix. You know what I mean? And once we get loan officers on that route, and once they feel comfortable, like kind of getting into they get into a groove with it. I mean, the rest is up to them to basically be like, look, I've already filmed these. Can you just help me edit them? Of course, totally. That's the easy part. That is time consuming, but it's totally the easy part. Getting in front of the camera is the hardest part for 99% of individuals.
And, you know, I have a solution for that, Chase. You brought up one of the most important points of all, which is just, you know, done is better than perfect. So many people try to kill themselves with perfectionism, not realizing.
Oh man.
Yeah. And on social media, especially, like, you don't need cinematic quality to create quality content. So if you're watching this right now and you haven't started making videos because you think you need this elaborate setup with expensive equipment, and that's what's holding you back, I have great news for you. Nobody gives a crap on social media. I mean, we've all by now liked or shared or engaged with a video that was going viral that was clearly just shot on somebody's cell phone.
Oh my God, totally. Yeah, look at Tim over here with his awesome background and the cool lights. Although I guess I'm not so different.
Don't be he's got to step it up for all of us. But this I say for just getting over that hump of fear and really being afraid to even get on camera. Some people are really like uncomfortable with the way their voice sounds starting out because it always sounds a little weird on the recording. You know,
oh, totally.
That phase we had to go through. This is what I suggest. So if you're watching this and you haven't done a video yet, here's what you do. 30-day video challenge. So every day for 1 month, you're going to whip out your cell phone and shoot a selfie video. You're not going to be hard on yourself about it. It's not going to have to be perfect. You're going to just summarize quickly a message, something valuable to your target market that would make their lives easier, and or just anything. If you just want to vlog about your day, that's fine. But it's just 30-day video challenge where every day you film a video. But the kicker is you're not going to post any of them. So this is how you learn. This is how you warm up, because and when I tell people this, they're like, oh, thank God. Okay, I don't have to post any of these. Now the pressure is taken off of them. They start filming every day. They start practicing. And by the end of the 30 days, how many of those clients of mine do you think are dying to post at least 1 or 2 of those? A lot, because practice makes perfect. They took the pressure off and they kind of got over that initial hump of just starting. So I always say that if you're really nervous, just tell yourself you're not gonna post it. And that's a nice little psychological hack that can at least get you practicing.
Ooh, I like that, and I love the 30-day challenge just in general. That's a great idea. Even if you do it like a 2-week or a 1 week, you know, it's going to get anything out there, and you do it every single day, and you get some kind of a series behind you. I think you're going to get more and more and more and more comfortable with it, obviously. So, and just dial it in. 30 days though, I love that. And by the way, don't be a Tim. Yeah, that's fine. But I've got.
Look at me, man! I built my own PC. You can like see it glowing in the background.
I wish you could see my actual setup, because it perceptions everything. This cheap plastic stuff behind me. I got 8 tiles of cheap plastic behind me.
Yeah,
my laptop and all my stuff is sitting on my suitcase.
Oh, totally. I totally feel it. Yeah.
And these lights on the side. So this is cool, right? Because this is all you need to get started on some of this stuff. But the lights on either side are. I'm a Star Wars nerd, so I've got 2 lightsaber lamps on each side. So.
Oh, is that what that is? I've always wanted to know. They're actually lightsaber lamps. That's cool.
They are. Yes.
That's cool.
Luke and Darth.
I love it.
And so, hey, but that's a good transition, because like the next thing I wanted to kind of cover with you guys and throw that out there to the group is how people get started. So I love the 30-day challenge, but also there's and you kind of hit on this, Shay, just when you mentioned it on the 30-day challenge. But to me, the biggest barriers are, fear, the fear factor, getting over that. I think that 30 days is beautiful. I love that. But then it's also, time allocation and where do you even start? Not even from a content perspective, because we'll get into that in a minute too, but from just equipment, right? Because you mentioned iPhone or just a cell phone in general, or where do you even start? And I think a lot of people I'm one of them, like they'll overthink that stuff. And it's like, man, you start thinking about all that stuff, and I don't even, it's going to be, you're writing a thesis at the end of the day in terms of like getting my first one kicked off. Right. So and then you just don't go and you just don't get it done. You don't even take the first step. So Shay, you want to maybe kick us off on that? Like, where do people start? How do you start, equipment wise, whatever?
Absolutely. So the number one thing on social media for growth is consistency. So this ties into Tim's question about how do you start, because it's really important everyone tuning in understands that when you do start, give yourself a setup that you know you'll be able to maintain, because consistency is actually more important than having the most flawless, highly edited cinematic videos. So for me, that was my cell phone. I said, okay, I'm going to start doing these LinkedIn videos, but I work a full-time job. I got a lot going on. How am I going to do this? I'm just going to do it on my cell phone. And I would hold it up, actually the horizontal way for LinkedIn. Now, more and more people are doing the long way. That's fine too. But you really just got to find good lighting. And you can do that by standing in front of a window. I find that if it's a sunny day or the sun's at least partially out, if you stand in front of a window, you'll be perfectly lit from all over. It'll look like you have lights on you. And that's actually kind of how I am right now. I'm in this Airbnb, but there's 2 windows on either side of me. And I was like, oh, right away, like I walk into an Airbnb, I know this is going to be my spot for my laptop because there's natural lighting coming in from both sides. And then, you want to practice, like I said, in the 30-day challenge, but you also want to ask yourself, what would be the worst thing if somebody laughed at me for this video? What would be the worst thing that would happen if I got haters in the comments and this and that? And just start to really dig on yourself and ask, like, is what I'm afraid of even that rational? Like we all have faced hate, criticism, adversity at some point in our lives. It pops up unexpectedly. We never planned for it. So when you spend your life trying to avoid it, like I'm going to never make videos because then I'll avoid hate. You're still going to get hate in another area of life. Trust me, it's going to happen. You can't avoid it. But I would say to start, just start on your cell phone, something that's easy for you to maintain. You can actually get really nice selfie sticks with a ring light on Amazon. Jonathan actually might have some recommendations for us for those. But if you don't even want to go there with the equipment yet, I say just stand in front of a window and hold your phone as still as you can. And big tip here, Tim, big tip. And Chris, you'll probably relate to this. You've probably seen it. Look into the lens of your phone.
That's it.
Don't look at yourself.
I didn't think about that.
Yes, I know it's tempting to look at yourself, and it's okay. It's okay to check back and look at yourself once in a while and make sure, okay, I'm centered. I didn't start drooling or anything crazy. I'm good. But for the most part, you want to look into the lens because that translates to when the viewer sees you, you looking at them, looking them in their eyes, as opposed to a little off camera. They're not going to connect with you quite as much because you weren't actually talking into the lens. So keep that in mind.
I want to add to that just really quickly because I totally agree with, it took me a while to, what is that green dot on my iPhone for? That green dot that's where you look. And even on this call right now, like I'm looking directly in the camera, but I can't really see you guys. But if I'm looking down the whole time, it's awkward. Like I'm looking at Shay right now. And then a lot of times I'm like looking at my hair to see if it's okay. And then, then I got to look back. So one of the, if you can really make it a point to look in there, that's huge. One of the things that I did for getting started, it's really, like Shay said, just your iPhone. But I did it in the car because no one was there. No one could hear me. I would just pull over into a parking lot because the first few I was moving like Jonathan was, and I got so much like criticism about that. Like, you need to pull over. What you're doing is dangerous. And then, so I finally just decided, okay, I'm just going to pull over so that there's no cars moving behind me. But that really got me comfortable in my messaging. And, but I love the idea of what Shay's talking about with the 30 days, because the moment you put the camera up, it's like a million eyes are looking at you. And if you can remove that barrier of entry, then the comfort level is there. And then when you relate it back to realtors and mortgage folks, every one of you have amazing stories that happened to you this week of how you saved a deal, of how you helped the client, how you put them in a better financial situation, or you got them their first home. Those are amazing stories. And through those stories, when you sprinkle in authenticity and you're at a point where you're being authentic, and I can't think of the other word, but where you're vulnerable. That's the word I was thinking of. And you talk about the losses as well as the wins. People really latch onto that, and they get to know you, and they're like, this guy, I want to work with them. And so I love the 30-day challenge, and tell your stories of what you guys are going through.
Absolutely. And I'm going to look I'm already taking into practice. So I already love it. I don't know what's going on in my life now because I'm only looking at this lens, but I love it. So good tip. I'm already using it. Andrew, I know we got some questions trickling in. Do we want to throw those out there? Because some of it also gets back into what I was talking about just a minute ago, which is also, how do we start? Like, how does someone start if they want to, maybe they're in video and they want to go to the next level. Maybe they haven't done any videos and they start with just a simple iPhone or something like that. But if they want to get into kind of beyond an iPhone situation, maybe, or a phone situation in general, how do they do that? Like, what kind of there's tons of apps out there. I'd love to pick your brains, Jonathan, as well, if you still can, on what apps do you use? How do you do your editing? I know we're seeing, I'm checking the boxes now. We're seeing some questions come in around that, hey, I know you guys have graphics that come in and out, and how does that all work? And how do you do that? So there's some ways to kind of baby step that, right? So how do you guys do that?
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off that question. So we've got Dominic asking, to your point, Tim, so often there's graphics during, before, after videos that you see on social media, any advice on how to do that well. So we want to make sure that we cover that one. A question that we had for you guys too was just, we talk about like must-haves versus nice to haves, right? We've kind of talking loosely about that, whether it's, this is the bare minimum that you need for video. And then here's, maybe we want to get additionally into like, what does maybe a nicer studio setup look like? So, whether it's equipment, whether it's, actually editing and all of that stuff, what are kind of your must-haves, whether it's, music, voiceovers, captions, and what are kind of your nice-to-haves, right? What are the pieces that when you do put in a little bit more time and effort that you like to have in some of your videos, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I recommend, first of all, subtitles are the most important. Like, we can get into editing and all the tricks to go more pro, but at the end of the day, 85% of social media users, including LinkedIn users, are without sound. So if you're doing videos and not subtitling them, even through an auto subtitler, you're already just missing out on leads. I see a big difference right away when my clients go from not subtitled to subtitled. And how you can do that, really basic. There's 2 free apps actually for subtitling. One of them is called Clips, and the other one is called Subtitle. That's subtitle, but with a Z. But I actually recommend this website for video editing if you want to do more elaborate edits. So one thing that you'll notice on a lot of my videos, for example, is I have a bar on top. So I call that a bar on top with a caption that's actually on the video. So that's just one more place to get the viewer's attention. What you didn't know about getting a loan for your house, that could be a caption for a top bar. And adding in music and B-roll and outros and all that stuff. There's a platform called InVideo. It's actually a website. And actually, Jonathan, if you could get that link, we have a link if they want to sign up. It's super cheap. It's like a couple bucks a month. But what you get with InVideo is you get access to like a bunch of pre-made video templates. So literally, like, a 55-year-old stay-at-home mom could edit videos. Like, it's just perfect for anyone who's overwhelmed. Like, I don't know how to use Premiere or, these more extensive softwares, but you want to take the editing into your own hands. You want to add royalty-free music, royalty-free clips, and all that good stuff. Definitely check out InVideo, because that's how I create a lot of my videos, and how someone who's not a video editor but wants to explore and edit their own videos can actually do that through this platform. So those would be my tips. But again, start with the basics and work your way up. If you're someone watching and you already have videos, you're just trying to take it to the next level, I would say InVideo. Or you can always do the good old handy Upwork, look for an actual physical editor and start to build a relationship with them. I have many editors that I've worked with for many years online, and they just know my style. They understand social media by now. I can send them something. I barely have to give them any direction. They know exactly how to edit it. So that sort of a relationship, if you're looking to build something more long-term, is really valuable as well.
And then Jonathan, are you still available?
Yes, and this actually addresses one of the questions in the chat. So I love the fact that I can kind of combine both. Video editing is an introvert's dream come true.
Yes.
You can take a person, because I remember this growing up. I was a really shy kid, like I had a lot of challenges going up and starting conversations with people, but I would wear very loud outfits. I would have like long hair. I would just stand out because of the way I looked visually. So what I learned is that if you want people to come to you, then you really have to stand out. And, it wasn't going to happen just because of my voice at the time. So the benefit on social media is the editing process. Let's say that you're a little bit shy, you're a little bit quiet, but if you have great music in the background that's, nostalgic or just makes people feel a certain way, having moving images, all of that stuff turns an introvert and it makes them appear more exciting, more interesting. So I'm such a heavy believer, and if you've watched any of my content, that I incorporate so much of this because it takes an okay message and really lifts it to the next level. Even somebody like a Tony Robbins, who is just such an amazing and captivating individual in terms of his speaking, the guy has fireworks. He has people standing up. He makes it such an, he makes his content almost like an experience, an event. And I treat social media the same way. With editing, you can turn your content into an event. It's not just a social media post. So I'm a huge believer in doing that. I personally use Premiere Pro. In video is absolutely amazing. There's so many options right now. So don't allow the fact that maybe you're a little bit shy on camera to stop you, because there's a lot of ways that we can enhance your content to make you stand out.
I love that. Love it. That's awesome. Well, Chris, what do you have? Do you have some go-tos?
Yeah, I had a couple of things. So number one, one of the things that I do is I will, when I'm scrolling, one of the things that I stop on, I usually am stopping on the people that aren't doing any editing, unless they're doing something like what Shay's doing, where you have the bars and I can see like what the message is going to be about, and it stops me in my tracks, and I got to hear what she's going to say. Same with Jonathan. So I do think that, the other thing is don't overthink it. Like, I think if you're just getting started, don't worry about music. Just worry about getting comfortable in front of the camera and hitting record. Because through that process, once you feel comfortable there, then you start working on creative. And then you're like, you know what? I want those bars. I want this. And you can go to places like Fiverr and they'll do them for really cheap. There's editors there. I use Subtitle. I have a subscription to a music that's what did you call it, like non-licensed music, and I have one of those. Yeah, royalty free music. So all that's just kind of comes as a natural progression. But what I see a lot of people doing is creating these barriers of entry of needing to have the light, needing to have the cool background, needing to have the camera, and then I'm gonna do something. Yes. Just hit record and get comfortable there and try the 30-day challenge. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, now it comes full circle, but right back to Shay's point with the 30-day. I love it. What about you, Chase? Because I know Chase and Andrew, I too kind of echo some of yours. I use Subtitle and a couple of other ones that have been mentioned. But what about Chase? Do you have some go-tos?
I mean, I went last, so everyone said all the things that I was going to say. But I think it's really important, at least to just remind everyone that I imagine that most of the people on this call are not like creatively inclined. So most of the things that they do in their job have a definite answer to them. But video is a creative space. It's a creative thing. There's no right answer to get the thing that you're trying to do. I should know. I've taken many classes, Premiere Pro, actually not even just all of Adobe Suite. I have taken a lot of classes and spent a lot of money figuring out how to do A through Z. And every single class, I have learned how to do the same thing in a completely different way. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the same thing for people trying to do video. You know, like it's just going to make sense for someone to do it this way rather than this way. And it doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're right. It's just whatever is easier for that person. Like, I'll give you an example. I know a lot of people who want to do video. Shocker. That's why we're on this panel right now. But they don't really want to be on camera. They're a lot more camera shy, but they want to do video, which is a really weird place to be in. So what I do with a lot of these people is like, look, this sucks, but just write a script that's like 3 sentences long, 5 sentences long, like a paragraph, and just do the whole thing, just sentence by sentence, and have either yourself or an editor. By the way, there's lots of kids that are 18 to 20 that would love to do it, love to get some work, and they will do it for the cheap. And have them put together a voiceover only video. Then you get your subtitles. You can still put your face in it if you want with using a headshot or something. But like for me, that is an easy answer that not a lot of people realize they can do. I don't personally say like always do voiceover because we love to see you, you know, but voiceover is a really easy way to at least get that entry if that's the way you want to go. And again, no right or wrong answer. I just think I've done a lot of very interesting videos just based on that premise.
Yeah, and I think Chase, you bring up a great point there. We actually got a question in the chat too, saying, you know, I see some loan officers on Facebook, they're doing like these 10-minute long videos. They're getting super in depth into whether it's a specific product or a much longer story. So kind of looping that back into, you know, timing of videos, you know, how long these videos are. You know, speaking from personal experience, a lot of my content that I've pushed out personally, and even stuff that we pushed out from the Synergy brand, you know, all of that content that has performed really, really well is really short, succinct, and to the point. So like when I'm writing copy, you know, even when I'm putting together videos, it's like, who is my audience, right? So who am I trying to call out? You know, I'll even sometimes like literally call out like realtors and loan officers or home buyers, right? You know, make your audience very known and clear at the beginning of the video, at the beginning of your post, and then get into kind of the meat of it. You know, that's like your second sentence. And then your third sentence can be like, why is it important? Like, do you want them to contact you? Like, do you want to start a conversation? Because if you follow that kind of audience call out, you know, here's one specific bullet point that you're trying to get across. That's the main piece there. And then kind of your call to action, you know, you've successfully put together like a really compelling short 30-second video if you're able to do that. And sometimes, you know, maybe you just want those videos to be 15 seconds because, you know,
Totally.
You guys can speak to, you know, Chase, Shay, and Chris, all three of you, to kind of the length of these videos and like what's the right amount or kind of what you're seeing there as far as the most optimal viewpoint. But maybe you guys can dig a little bit more into that.
I don't know if I have an answer other than I love video gaming. And even when my favorite video gaming social media places like IGN post about what's 5 to 7 minute long video, I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I think it's significant that you almost never see people complain that a video is too short. Like you will see them pop off if it's too long. So I think,
Right.
you know, that's just something for everyone to be aware of. You know, I'm with you, Chase. You know, it could be, you know, I'm a huge Packers fan. I could be watching like an Aaron Rodgers highlight video. And, you know, if that thing's over like 30 seconds, you know, I got stuff to do, right? You know, there's things that are more important than the video that you're watching. And so you got to think, you know, through, you know, what is my audience doing and what am I competing with? Because you're competing with the cats of TikTok and all of these other different things, you know, family photos, stuff that is actually very important to people when they're looking on social media, right? They're looking to be entertained. So you're kind of breaking that sequence and you want to make sure that you're doing something that's either educating or informing people or entertaining them, ideally doing both. So Shay, I know you do a lot of kind of cross education and entertainment in the stuff that you do.
Yes, I do. But I also want to touch on the length. What you're bringing up right now is so important. Why that is that shorter videos do better. Remember, to all of the people scrolling in the newsfeed, you and your content is unknown. You know, you're a stranger to them. They don't owe you anything. So they're a lot more likely to invest, say, 90 seconds into unknown content from a stranger than they are 10 minutes. You know, if they don't know me and I pop up in their feed and it's 10, they're gonna be like, who's this shit? I don't owe her anything. 10 minutes. I want 10 minutes of my time. No way. But if it's 60 seconds, they're gonna say, okay, I don't know this woman, but you know what? Let me just see. I have 60 seconds. Let me see. And now that I do have a following who knows and trusts me, I can release 10-minute videos and they will get views because I have all those fans who already trust me and are willing to sit through a 10-minute video. I will not gain many new eyeballs or new fans from that 10-minute video. It's still, just like Andrew was saying, always the shorter videos that bring people in the door. And then another pro tip is, if you're like, oh, but I like the longer version, I really want to post this whole thing. Well, start to funnel those people to your YouTube, which on YouTube, they do support longer form videos. So what you can do is actually create a short preview version of that video for the newsfeed on LinkedIn or on other social media platforms with a CTA, a call to action saying, hey, if this inspired you and you want to see the full video, click the link in the comments, it goes to my YouTube, and then boom, you funnel them to YouTube and they get the full version there. And you start to now kind of cross promote platforms and get followers on both.
100%. I mean, that's a whole reason that I started doing podcasting, because I needed like free content. And so I was like, I had this idea that if I can just interview people and let them build the content, that would be even better. So then I was like, then I'm going to cut this into micro content and then put the long version on YouTube to build my YouTube following, but then just use 1 minute micro content pieces, and I can get 5 pieces of content off of one, podcast. It's amazing. So I do agree with, there are places for it, but I don't think I've earned, anyone's respect enough to go over a minute on LinkedIn. Like, Shay, the other day you posted a video of, you've done a couple recently, these music videos, and they're kind of, and I'm watching every minute of them. I'm like, this is legit. So, so like you've earned it, right? Like you feel like, and I think you even posted one time talking about that. Like, you got to earn your right to give, to ask for that amount of time. And I don't think I'm there, but I think that try to make it 1 minute is kind of the general rule, in my opinion.
Yeah. Great rule.
Yeah. And then Jonathan, I forgot how I was watching a couple of Jonathan's the other day, and hopefully he's still with us, but I forgot how long they were, but I was watching obviously the whole thing, especially around LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn nerd too. So that's kind of my space, my platform. But man, you've got some ridiculously good nuggets that you always, it seems like you have like a internal team that leaks information to you from LinkedIn on a daily basis that you lace into all of your stuff. But talk about timing and like just kind of the stuff that you feed out there, because it's amazing. All right, might have lost.
I don't know what's going on there.
He's using a robot.
Oh,
there
there
you
we
go.
go.
Yep.
Wait, there you are.
Uh-oh.
Jonathan, you are now a Zoom fail, my friend.
I think he's
So-
The robot
Please.
language.
Yeah, so something I want to
There we go.
talk about, because everybody keeps talking about YouTube, and I find we're good.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So one of the things that everybody was talking about, and I wanted to kind of get into, is like this whole thing about YouTube. And I want everybody to remember something. YouTube is not a social media platform, as far as I'm concerned. It's a search engine,
Good point.
right? So, when you see a YouTube video that's 10 minutes long, which is when it starts, when you can convert it into money, you can monetize at 10 minutes. It's really important to remember, like, these platforms are telling you, they're giving away how long they want your content to be. On YouTube, a 10-minute video is optimal. On LinkedIn, we know with LinkedIn stories, 20 seconds. That's how long a LinkedIn story is. So we kind of know, okay, like, I'm getting the impression this is how long LinkedIn thinks this content should be. Now, kind of going back to the whole thing about the search engine versus the news feed, when somebody's on YouTube, they're searching for the content. They're looking for an answer. On the news feed, they're
He's cutting out again. You're cutting out again, John. I can finish what he's saying, though. I know exactly what he's
Yeah,
saying.
search versus feeds. Yeah.
He's describing intentional. Oh. Oh wait, he muted himself now. Okay. So he's
then
describing.
they're just going to keep going, and that's why. And it's the difference between somebody that's actively looking for an answer.
I think
or
we have a
somebody
bit
that's
of a
gonna-
delay on the Zoom feed here.
Okay, that's what's happening. Okay, my bad. Yeah, 'cause I'm
Oh,
like, he's my
sorry.
I think we're good.
all right. So, but in a nutshell, it's, discovery versus intentional. Discovery is like, I'm going to go to Facebook, scroll in the feed, just discover what's there. I'm going to go to LinkedIn, scroll in the feed, discover some new connections. Discovery versus intentional. It's like, I'm going to go to YouTube intentionally to type in how to find a mortgage loaner. Like that's going to be a more intentional search versus the newsfeed. They could be scrolling and looking for anything, which is why Chris and I were having a conversation earlier about how content, even outside of your niche, can do well in the newsfeed. Because if you get on LinkedIn and just start talking about an experience you had of, let's say, getting fired and what you learned from it and how you were so mad at first, but it ended up being the best experience ever. And here's why. Well, it might not have anything to do with your, brokerage or your industry, but it has to do with what a lot of people on LinkedIn have in common. So now you're going to get people stopping on the feed saying, oh my God, I got fired once too. Oh my God, I like totally relate to this woman.
That's it.
I feel like I know her. And then they click back to your profile, want to learn more about you. And that's a great way to get new eyeballs on your page that you otherwise wouldn't have gotten just only talking about your niche.
Yeah, no, that speaks really back to what you said at the beginning, Shay. People have to know, like, and trust you in order to want to do business with you, right? And so what sets you apart, if you're a loan officer, if you're a real estate agent, what sets you apart from other people in the industry, right? And that's, what's unique to you. Like, what makes you a unique individual? What is your story? And just kind of, maybe if you guys, Shay and Chris, can let us know, how do you guys go from, I know we've touched on this at a couple different points in the conversation, but specifically, how do you transition away from just talking about, what you offer, what your products are, what your business is, and moving into telling, in kind of Donald Miller fashion, that story brand? How do you tell the story about why you do what you do and why that's important to people?
Shay, you want to go?
Sure. I would love to. Chris, you can jump on after, but you mentioned something about how do people pivot. I would say for anyone on this call who's already making content around your industry and you've never once talked about yourself, just try it. Just post something personal, post something a little, off brand and see how it works. A lot of times you'll be surprised that people love to hear about you. They love to hear about the human behind the business and what they've been up to. And if you're just starting out, I would say, don't ever, start your brand and grow it, always mixing in some of the personal, because life happens. Sometimes things show up at our door unexpectedly. Sometimes a loved one dies. Sometimes the partner you thought you loved for decades cheats on you and you're getting a divorce. Things happen, and that's going to always impact the ability, or that's going to always impact the way that we show up in our blog with our content, business or not. So when you can be honest with people about what you're going through, you actually set yourself up for a lot less stress down the line. So like me, for example, growing my LinkedIn, I have just consistently throughout my time growing it, been really honest about what I'm going through. Hey guys, I'm also on this healing journey. I, have had issues in my life with depression. Sometimes I need to take a step back and do me. And my following's like, oh yeah, you're good. So it takes the pressure off. I don't ever have to hide. I don't ever have to, feel guilt about, oh, I really don't want to do videos this week, but my following, whatever. I can just get on LinkedIn and literally say that. Hey guys, Shay's having a week and I don't want to do videos this week. And everyone's going to be like, oh, we love you, Shay, and go you. And I'm telling you, in a world where there's so little authenticity, people crave it. People really do crave it. So the more you can be honest and share your true experience, as scary as it is, it's really going to magnetize people to you, because there's just not enough people doing it, especially on social media. Like Chris was saying in the beginning, everyone just wants to post the highlight reel. Look how amazing I am. Look at how I'm the best. When you post the failures, the flaws, and the hardships of life, you're actually a lot more relatable, and you're going to get all of that business that these, gurus online aren't actually going to get, because they're not connecting to people. And the last thing that I will say about that and the importance of working in personal and general content into your brand is that the people that you attract are people that you actually want to do business with. people that you don't have to hide your true self around. You know, hey, Tim, saw your video about getting a divorce. Oh man, here's my story. Here's what I just went through. Oh, by the way, I need a loan officer. Can I talk to you about this? So they're going to connect with you in a way they hadn't before. And you don't have to hide anything about yourself to do business with them. You just show up and be authentic. And that is the best way to win business. Not, you know, putting on a stuffy suit and tie, metaphorical suit and tie every day, getting on LinkedIn, trying to be so perfect. Will you attract business? Sure. But they're going to be people who really expect you to be perfect all the time. And how draining is that? So those are my 2 cents. And that's what I would say about honesty and vulnerability in tandem, mixed in with your niche industry content.
Vulnerability over the flex wins all day long. Like I can't tell you how important that is. You know, one of the things that you know, as being a lender and being a licensed lender, we're in a highly regulated industry. And so there's so many things that you can't and can't say. And so I think that's where a lot of, you know, loan officers they shy away from video, because there's many companies haven't really adopted the fact that building your digital brand in a local marketplace is equally important. And so what I'd say to that is, you know, number one, stay away from talking, you know, just about mortgages. You know, telling a story about how you helped a client and how you won a client, or how you lost a client, or, you know, some creative thing you had to do that the other loan officer didn't think about. You know, all those things are that when you don't talk about real names and real numbers, you're okay from a regulatory perspective. And so, and by the way, it's just more interesting. You know, everyone knows you have low rates. Everyone knows you have great service. That's the cost of doing business. Talk about you. Who are you? What are you about? What happened to you this week? I want to know your story. And it's why, like, I really gravitated towards watching Shay's stuff, because I've never seen anybody. And if you haven't, just listen to her first 3 episodes of her podcast, because there's nothing like that type of vulnerability. Are they still up, Shay? Like, because I know you weren't doing them, but you're, yeah. I mean, you want to hear vulnerability and not giving an F about, you know, your story. Listen to that, and that should catapult you in knowing how important it is. Because when you hear that vulnerability, and you're like, you know, I can relate to that in a weird way, you know. And so I think lead with your story. And the person, Aaron, who said I'm so boring, I'll challenge you on that all day, Aaron, because you have a story in there.
Yep.
And I could talk to you for 5 minutes and find it.
Yep. Everyone has a story.
Everyone, and I want to touch on that, because Aaron, you know, saying I'm so boring, you probably just think that you know, haven't had an experience in life that's all that unique or extraordinary or special. That's actually good. You know, the people who think that they need to have this extraordinary story that no one else has, like I climbed Mount Everest in my socks or something crazy, like people actually just can't relate to that. The best stories are the ordinary stories, the love stories, the you know, how I met my wife, the you know, beating cancer, the things that everyone can relate to. So when you think of a story you've had and you immediately go, oh, well, I don't want to share that, that's so boring, everyone has that. No, that's actually what you should share. You might think, but everyone has this experience. Why, you know, this isn't exciting. I'm telling you, it's just the way human beings are. They just relate to that. It's the simple stuff, that the everyday stuff that is relatable, that gets people in the door.
Absolutely. It's the relatability of that. I think I just made that term up, but you get the point though. So guys, I mean, can't thank you guys enough. Jonathan, sorry we had the Zoom troll cut you off on a little bit of that, but great stuff from you. I really appreciate it. I can't even believe you were able to make the call. So seriously can't thank you enough. Appreciate you.
There was another guy with hair looking good on here, and
so we had two of the best in the business in terms of the hair, and the best in the business with video and everything else that they do. So fantastic. Chase, Shay, Andrew, appreciate everything. Want to wrap it up here real quick. Andrew, you want to kind of take us out real quick? I want to be respectful of the time and the calendar for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like Tim said, thank you so much for joining us guys today. I'm super happy to be able to pass on this information and just provide value to you loan officers, real estate agents, and anyone else that happens to be on the show with us today. Please follow any of today's speakers on social media to continue to get great content. Chris Medellin, Shay Rowbottom, Chase Majerus, Tim and myself are also on social media posting out content if you follow us as well. And finally, for those of you that are on Clubhouse, we're actually hopping onto the Crushing It on Video after party to continue the conversation for those of you that want to keep talking about how to leverage video within your business. So if you follow either Tim or myself, Tim Wagner or Andrew Haberman on Clubhouse, we're going to be hosting it in the Crushing It on Social group. So you can either join the group or follow us to be able to get into that. So just again, thank you everyone and have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. I'll make a final note here that we will be sending the recording out to everyone that registered for the webinar, including those of you that attended. So you will be receiving this so you are able to watch it to your heart's content after the fact. All right, we'll call it a wrap, guys. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
You guys rock.